Afternoon. It's me again. And what a week it has been. I'm out somewhere. I'm not going to tell everyone where I am. I'm in a secret location. But I'm not in England at the moment, so kind of just trying to soak up sun elsewhere. But currently standing outside the stadium, well, sitting outside the stadium at the moment. Not going to show you around it, to be quite honest, but pretty decent stadium. Currently in the Segunda League. So that is a clue for you guys. We'll get right into it. Obviously, we've just had Matchweek 21. 22 take place, actually. Sorry, Matchweek 22. So we'll go through that. Chelsea versus Fulham from Stamford Bridge ended 0-0. That was on a Friday game. So obviously Chelsea have had a lot of transfer dealings lately. I think they had 11 in the transfer market just gone. And not one of them performed on the day, which is quite funny to me. Fulham should have actually won the game, and Willian was cooking on the day as well. So he should have actually got a goal for himself. Chelsea seemed a little bit disjointed, which is to be expected because obviously they do have a few players that need to gel. They need time to obviously accommodate themselves around each other. And I do think Graham Potter would be the right man to obviously get that sorted. Really decent signings. Enzo Fernandez is a decent signing, but I think they signed him for far too much. Mudryk will be a good signing as well. And obviously João Felix is serving a touchline ban, a free game ban at the moment as well. But he'll be back as soon as he gets back. I think Mount comes out the team. I think Havertz comes out the team as well. And they will be firing on all cylinders. As for Fulham, again, one of these surprise packages of the season. I had them as relegation candidates start of the season, and they've completely shut me up, to be quite honest. So fair play to them. Currently sitting 7th in the league comfortably as well. And I don't see them in any danger at all. Don't think they'll make the European places, but they play really good football at the moment, and I do think that continues under Marco Silva. And then it will determine and depend on what he does in the summer thereafter. But he would need to build on this at the moment. But it's looking good for them. As for Chelsea, I don't see them making the top 4. However, I do see them making a push after sort of February time. With the play that they have, they will be winning more games. But 0-0, really good point for Fulham. Not a great point for Chelsea, but they'll obviously move on to their next game as well. Everton versus Arsenal from Goodison Park. So I've always said if Frank Lampard stayed in the job, he would get Everton relegated. And I genuinely believe that with my heart because they were atrocious underneath him. But you see, when you get a manager that is structured, that knows what he's doing, Everton look like a Sam Allardyce under Bolton, a Burnley under Sean Dyche, a Crystal Palace under Tony Pulis, a Stoke type team, difficult to beat. Just nothing but raw pace and power everywhere, and that's what Everton did. Everton absolutely cooked Arsenal this weekend, and it was so good to watch. Dominated the midfield. That's how you play in the midfield against Arsenal, because if you allow Arsenal to play, they will walk all over you, and Fulham Everton just weren't having it. Very happy for Everton. They are again a very likeable side now. I swear it determines who manages them, to be quite honest. Lampard just weren't that guy. Sean Dyche will obviously get results. Everton no longer are relegation candidates for me. I think they'll stay up. As for Arsenal, I think Everton have showed you the blueprint on how to play them. Weren't very good. Not really much to say about them, to be quite honest. They didn't really make any chances. They weren't allowed to create anything. Everton swarmed them every opportunity, and I do hope this continues. I do hope other teams are watching or are going to play that back to just basically see what the blueprint is to stop Arsenal from playing football, because end of the day, that's how easy it is, and Everton made it look like child's play. Everton will stay in the Premier Division. I don't think Arsenal are winning the league. I've been saying this week in, week out. It's just not going to happen, even with this whole Man City potential turmoil happening. I do not think Arsenal are going to be crowned champions. So, top 4 finish, but nothing more from me. On to the Amex, we'll go to Brighton versus Bournemouth. Mitoma on the score sheet again. Didn't actually see this game, but obviously know the result. 88th minute, I believe Mitoma scored in. 1-0 victory for Brighton. They are the team, for me, that's going to be in and around sort of the 7th mark. Them or Brentford will get that last European place. They're just very good to watch, very intricate. I used to have this sort of theory that Chelsea under Tuchel could actually sort of chameleonize themselves and make themselves play every single team in the Premier League, because they've got the players to do it. They've got the systems that could obviously do it and change per game. I think Brighton can do that. They can adapt to anybody's style and play them off the park. And Brighton do that very, very well. Bournemouth were decent from what I saw. Just no cutting edge. Bournemouth, I do believe, are going down still now. Brighton will probably still sort of be in the 7th, upper echelons of 7th, maybe 8th. Definitely top 10. And they will definitely improve in the transfer market as well moving forward, because I do believe they still need a striker. I don't think they've replaced Trossard as yet, but that will come. Defensively, they are solid. And yeah, long may it continue, man. I like Brighton. I do like the style that they try to employ, and I do believe every single team should actually play like that. Moving on to Man United, Crystal Palace, Old Trafford. Entertaining game. Crystal Palace, the last 2 times they went up to Old Trafford, actually won. Won the last 2. And this was quite a spectacle, especially as Casemiro got sent off for something ridiculously silly. You can't put your arms or hands around anyone's neck on the football pitch. I mean, there didn't seem to be any malice or intent in it, but you can't do that. You can't allow the referee to sort of make the judgment call himself. So Casemiro will now probably receive a 3-game ban. I haven't seen anything else. There was a straight red, I believe. So that's a straight free game. Unless obviously they do decide to, appeal it and maybe get it rescinded. But 2-1 to Man United on the day. It seemed pretty straightforward up until the sort of red card, and then that's when obviously chaos ensued, and obviously Palace got back into the game, so it made it a little bit nervy at the end. But Man United weren't in any danger of losing this game. They're very, very different under Ten Hag, and I'll always say, if we didn't have Conte, I'd probably have Ten Hag as the manager, because he's a very good coach, a very good man manager. Kind of goes in there, does what he needs to do, and then obviously keeps the team at a certain level that is befitting of him. And I do believe he'll get Man United back to sort of where they once were. And I don't think it'll take him too long either. I think he needs about 1 or 2 transfer windows in order to obviously get that sorted, get the players he wants in. I even read today that there are a Qatari party that are trying to buy Man United as well. So, more money to them again. So it's only a matter of time before they'll be winning the trophy. They will win it under Sir Alex Ferguson, because it's been quite bare since he left. I think they've already had the one season where they went on and won the double, I believe, the FA Cup and the European Cup under Jose, and I don't think there's been anything since. So they are on a bit of a drought, but I think that will change. Crystal Palace, I don't see any danger of them either. I think they've got enough about themselves to stay in the division. Currently are hovering above the relegation zone at the moment, but that won't be lasting for too long. I think they've got too many good players and a really decent manager that will get them out of trouble. On to the G-Tech. Brentford 3, Southampton 0. Pretty straightforward game. There isn't really much I can say about Southampton other than the fact that they're probably going to be relegated. James Ward-Prowse, I would have to take him at my club. I would love him in my sort of 11 in and around the squad. Just for a set piece prowess, to be honest. He's wasted it at Southampton at the moment. Ivan Toney, funnily enough, didn't get onto the score sheet, which is something he usually tends to do. Nothing from him this weekend, though, unfortunately, and it kind of messed up an acca for me as well, because I had every single goal scorer that was needed apart from him, which is a little bit of an annoyance, but here we are. Brentford going really, really well. Home form is obviously very, very key to them, as their away form is not the best. I think they've only lost 1 game at home this season. That was to Arsenal, and that's looking like it's going to continue. But no, very, very good. Thomas Frank has done a really, really good job there as well. And for them, it's literally just about building on the sort of recent successes. Midfield needs a little bit of a revamp. They do work hard in there, but I think they need a little bit more, and maybe another centre-back in the summer. As for Southampton, as I said before, not much really to say about them. I think they'll go down. They don't have enough about them. There's no striker that can finish. Defensively, they're all over the place. Midfield, other than James Ward-Prowse, is a lot left to be desired, and I don't see them surviving this season. Molineux, Wolverhampton 3, Liverpool 0. So I know there were a few Liverpool fans about a month ago that had all the mouth and chest in the world, and it's all been punctured, it's all been diminished, and I wonder why. I think Klopp's in a bit of trouble, and I'd see that the next few fixtures for Liverpool aren't as kind as they would like them to be. Wolverhampton are the lowest goal scorers in the Premier League this season, and they managed to notch 3 goals against a very, very timid Liverpool defence. I know where it's all gone wrong, because I've been telling everyone where it's all gone wrong since the start of the season. Liverpool cannot play the system and style they want to play with the players they currently have, because they are all too old, and it's going to take at least 5 transfer windows for them to get the players in to obviously accommodate the style that Klopp wants. The 7-year itch is real. Klopp did this at Borussia Dortmund, there for 7 years, and all of a sudden Borussia Dortmund are flagging in 12th, 13th position before he left. Liverpool are currently 10th in his 7th season here. So, a little bit of an eye-opener. Liverpool are in a little bit of trouble. They are absolutely not getting the top 4. They are out of every competition conceivable. Have got Real Madrid next in the Champions League. I don't see them getting past them either. It is very peak for them, and I'm so happy about it because it's funny. So you don't hear Liverpool fans anywhere. It is quite hilarious. The less I say about them, the better. Wolverhampton under Lopetegui have been a lot better. Not conceding as many silly goals. Midfield is very, very good. They've got some wonderful players in there. Seriously, they do. And Wolverhampton are one of those teams that like to play intricate football as well. So they like to sort of play in the pockets. So play those passes that can obviously pierce defensive. And then they've got the sort of strikers and midfielders that do like to bomb into the box. And that's pretty much how they got their goals this weekend. So, no danger of Wolves going down. Danger of Liverpool getting caught up in a relegation battle. I don't see where Liverpool go from here. I really don't. They haven't got the money to purchase the players either, and the sell-on values of the players will not be very high because of the age of their players. But that's a problem for Klopp to sort out. Whether he gets the time to do that, time will tell. I'm not entirely sure myself. Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 4 from Villa Park. Little bit of a shock, that one. As I had Aston Villa to take the 3 points, considering they're at home and Leicester were just awful away from home. But Leicester, showed me something. They've got a little bit of fight there. So Brendan Rodgers obviously has James Maddison back, which is obviously a very, very good trigger, as James Maddison is obviously their best player. So it makes sense that obviously he's in the team. Leicester play better. Got on the score sheet as well. Was injured back end of the first half. I think he came out for the second half and it got taken off like the 70th minute or something, just as a precaution. But Leicester, really, really good. Aston Villa went 2-0 up. Seemed to be cruising, and all of a sudden Leicester decided to start playing football. They weren't too defensive. They literally went out all out attack, like gung-ho, like Leicester of old. Everyone bombing forward. And Aston Villa just couldn't live with it. Defensively, Aston Villa do need centre-backs this summer. I don't think Tyrone Mings is it. They do need another couple if they are to progress, and I think Emery will be in the market for another centre-back. But other than that, yeah, the type of game you kind of look at and be like, lots of goals. Bit shocked that Villa didn't win because of the run that it had been on previously. But Leicester City winning there is not necessarily a shock because it's Leicester, but obviously because of their form, you weren't expecting a 4-2 deficit. Both teams not in any danger of relegation at all. I do think they'll both stay in this division. And yeah, we'll obviously see what happens with them next week. Newcastle versus West Ham. St James's Park. This one I had as a draw anyway, because I had a feeling that Newcastle and West Ham would obviously cancel each other out. Newcastle haven't been scoring goals as of late. Obviously got to the Carabao Cup final against Man United. But they haven't been as aggressive as they have been in sort of weeks prior, and they look a little bit timid up top. That's due to the fact that Isak is obviously injured again. Callum Wilson's just come back from injury as well. Almiron's goal run seems to have stopped. Alan Saint-Maximin doesn't really score goals anyway, but a very useful player to have. I'd have him in the Spurs side any day of the week. But it seems to have gone off the board a little bit. They're not necessarily losing games, but most of their games are draws. And I think that's their 11th draw of the season already. West Ham is a tough one again for me. They will be in a relegation battle for me. But they did play really well, St James's. They were the better team from what I saw. And probably were decent for the draw. I think they played really, really well from what I did see. But it's going to be interesting to see what West Ham do from now to the rest of the season. They do have a few London derbies coming up as well. One of them against Chelsea, the other one against my beloved Spurs. So we'll see sort of where they're at round about then. Forest versus Leeds United from the City grounds. One that I called, and I knew Forest would win because Forest at home are one of the better teams in the league, and I keep on saying it. Nottingham Forest will not be going down at all. Leeds United have just parted with Jesse Marsh. So it's difficult to see sort of who they're going to get in. But they've got a good nucleus there, good squad of players that do like to listen and obviously can play different styles. I just don't think the quality is quite as high as it should be. Nottingham Forest at home, though, are very formidable. They're very good. That's why I said at the start of the season they'll be my surprise package, because a lot of teams will go there and expect to sort of win their games, but it's not that at Forest. They are very, very dogged. They don't give up very easily, and they do always make it a very tough game for you, which shows again another clean sheet. Brennan Johnson on the score sheet, finally starting to sort of get a little run together now, which is obviously great for him. And long may it continue, because I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a really good player. Steve Cooper obviously signed about 31 players from the start of the season up until the last transfer window, and he seems to be moulding a squad now. And this is the reason why they think that they'll go down. I think they've got really good experience in there. And they'll probably kick on and have a better season next season as well, where I see them finishing in the top 12. As for Leeds United, again, it depends on who they get in. They will be in the relegation dogfight with sort of the West Hams, the Southamptons of this world. Wolverhampton may potentially be down there as well, depending on the results they pick up. But Leeds United, I would say, are banging trouble at the moment. I need to find a solution very, very quickly. Final game of the weekend was my beloved Spurs against Manchester City. So before this game, I actually said I didn't mind which way this goes. It's a win-win for me. So if Manchester City win, they'll probably go on to catch Arsenal. If we win, that's our hopes for the top four revived. And so it was. We don't lose to Manchester City at home. At all. I don't think since the new stadium we haven't lost there. I think we lost to them at Wembley when we were there. But since we've had the new stadium, I think we played 5 games there, including the Champions League, and have not lost to them. And that speaks volumes, to be quite honest. We seem to have their number every time we play them. Conte does love a result against against Pep Guardiola. So it's not surprising that we won the game. Harry Kane obviously broke the record now, highest goal scorer in our history. And it's going to continue because he wants to obviously stay with us. He's going to sign a new contract soon. He's only 60 goals now behind Alan Shearer in the Premier League. Yeah, it's looking good for us at the moment. It looks like that we've turned the corner at the right time, which is always good. Champions League is around the corner as well, so we obviously need to be ready for that, and obviously need to be ready for every game now, because we do need a trophy. As for Manchester City, a lot of turmoil has come up over them over the last few days, with regards to FFP and obviously finances and them trying to cook books and just haven't been honest. And there's so many different sort of outlets and stories stating, they could be kicked out of the league, could be deducted points, could have their titles taken away from them. So it's a sticky one. For what I believe they're going to do, they'll probably give them a hefty fine, maybe give them a slight points deduction. They're not going to kick them out of the league. They're just not going to do that. It's not going to happen. They don't have sanctions like that here. They do in Italy, of course. They've done it to Juventus a few times already, but they won't do that here. Manchester City are one of the sort of bigger sort of money-making clubs in England. They're not going to ruin that for the sake of, the Premier League. They'll keep them there. They'll probably lawyer up and they'll come to some sort of resolution financially, which won't hurt Man City at all. That's my thinking of it. Pep Guardiola came out as well, basically said, if the club have lied to me, I will be walking. We know he's not going to be going anywhere. He's going to see his contract out. It's just a smokescreen, I believe, for something else. As serious as the allegations are, these things usually get put to bed quite quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised sort of by the end of this week or next week, this would all be resolved. Man United paid a hefty fine and that's it. Everyone kind of moves on from it. There is a game this evening. This was meant to be a match day 8 game. It's Manchester United versus Leeds United. I am going to be making a bet this evening. I do believe there's going to be a few cards. Man United victory. The new manager bounce obviously won't apply to Leeds because they haven't got new managers yet. But Man United are in a really, really, really good way at the minute. Really good form. Not losing any games. Rashford's in the form of his life. And I do see United taking this 3-1. That's probably the scoreline I'll go with. Both teams to score loads of cards. And I will go with that scoreline 3-1 as my prediction tonight. Moving on to match day 23. I'll give you my predictions on those. The first game we've got on the weekend, West Ham versus Chelsea at the London Stadium. Difficult one to call. I'll probably go with a Chelsea win. It will be a narrow one. I'll say 2-1 to Chelsea, based on the fact that Chelsea actually have a really good record over there, and West Ham haven't yet picked up any form. Chelsea do like to play early kickoffs as well, so I'll go 2-1 Chelsea victory there. Fulham versus Nottingham Forest from Craven Cottage. Tough one for Forest, this one. I do believe Fulham are in really good form, and I think Fulham will nick this 1-0. It'll be a very sort of tight contest, and I do have Mitrovic to score for Fulham over the weekend. Leicester City versus Spurs. That is live from the King Power Stadium. Tottenham in recent sort of years have gone to the King Power and always ground out results, and I don't see this one being any different. I think Spurs are now in the ascendancy. As I said before, we've picked up really good form. Lloris, I've read today, is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks now. He injured his knee during the game against Manchester City. But I don't think that's going to hinder us much. I do see a Spurs victory, and I'm going to go 2-1 to Tottenham. Kane and Son to be on the score sheet there. Arsenal versus Brentford is interesting from the Emirates. Obviously, Brentford last away game they went to in the top 6, they ended up winning, and that was at Manchester City. They won that game convincingly. Was it 2-0, 2-1, something like that. Ivan Toney got on the score sheet twice, and I do see something similar happening here. I do see an Arsenal Brentford classic here. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Arsenal Brentford. I do think Brentford are the type of team that on a really good day, they can catch you with anything, whether it's a set piece, whether they're getting behind you sort of defensively. Very physical side, which Arsenal don't like, and as we saw against Everton, Arsenal do not like physicality. If Brentford get physical with Arsenal, it could be a very good game for them, and that's why I'm going with a 1-1 draw. Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace versus Brighton. I see Brighton taking this game 2-1, just for the fact that they're in better form. Palace usually are very good at home, are very wishy-washy. Played very well against Man United last week after United went down to 10 men. But I don't think that'll be enough for Brighton. I think Brighton will keep possession of the ball. They'll do more with it, and I think Matoma will be on the score sheet yet again. Southampton versus Wolverhampton from St Mary's. I'll go with a draw on this one. I'll go 1-1, based on the fact that Wolverhampton don't travel well. Southampton have picked up decent results at home. And did beat Manchester City in the Carabao Cup there a couple of weeks back. So they are capable of doing things at home. I just don't think they're capable of doing it over a sustained period of time. But I do think they'll pick up a point here. So that's why I'm going with a 1-1 draw at St Mary's against Wolverhampton. Bournemouth versus Newcastle from the Vitality Stadium. I think that will be a Newcastle win quite easily. We're going to go 1-0 there. Like I said before, Newcastle don't necessarily score plenty of goals. Bournemouth don't really score goals at all, but it's one of those places that's very tough to go. I remember us going to Bournemouth and it was only a 3-2 victory for us, and we were 2-0 down. I think Newcastle will obviously keep the score very low, and obviously Eddie Howe's old club, he knows them very well, and I do think Newcastle will come away with a 1-0 victory there. Callum Wilson on the score sheet, I believe. I think Newcastle is still without Guimaraes as well, which will obviously be a bit of a problem for them, but not for this game. Leeds United versus Manchester United obviously is being played tonight, but obviously the reverse of this will be at Ellen Road this weekend, and that'll be on Sunday. Again, it depends on what happens this evening. If Man United end up beating Leeds this evening, I do think Leeds can obviously go and turn them over at Ellen Road. I'm going to say a Man United victory for now. But again, it's one of those that can turn. If Leeds United get hammered tonight, then I do see another sort of side to their sort of character this weekend. Very difficult game for Man United. That won't be an easy walkover, that one. Leeds United tend to obviously get the crowd involved at Ellen Roads. And I do think there'll be goals in it as well. So I will go with a Man United win, only narrowly for now. Could change obviously after tonight's game. Manchester City versus Aston Villa from the Etihad. It depends again on what comes out with regards to what's going on with Manchester City at the moment. It's all dependent on that. I do think Manchester City win the game if everyone's heads are clear. If this is hanging over them by the weekend, I do think it could get a little bit sticky for them. It depends on what Manchester City turn up at the moment. I do hope it's a Man City that is capable of catching Arsenal at the moment. But there are no guarantees on it because of what's circling the club at the minute. In my head, I'll probably go with a 3-0 Aston Villa victory, and I do believe Haaland gets on the score sheet again. But on another day, it's Unai Emery, and he does what he does. He does what he does. He does pull out shock results sometimes, and it could happen. But my head is telling me head is telling Man City 3-0 and Haaland to be on the score sheet there. And then Monday, we end with the Merseyside derby from Anfield. That is Liverpool versus Everton. So now this game has taken on a bit of a mind of its own, because Liverpool are in turmoil at the moment, and Everton have just come off a really, really big win against Arsenal. Had you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said Liverpool. Keep in mind though, Liverpool did go to Goodison and get a 0-0 draw. So Everton obviously are going to be up for the game. I do see now Everton being a lot more solid to beat, and I do believe that Everton will come up with the victory. I think it'll be a 1-0 win to Everton, based on the fact that Sean Dyche is now in there. Liverpool have not got a formula at the moment to beat anybody at the minute, and there's no telling when Liverpool are going to be sort of back to where they needed to be sort of 2-3 years ago. It's a difficult one for them, and I think Everton will score the victory, and I think it'll be a 1-0 Everton win. Goal scorer, probably Dominic Calvert-Lewin, maybe, or no, from like a corner or something. Maybe even a Tarkowski. But Everton victory, I think, at Anfield this weekend is where I'm going. There's also another game which should have been played match day 12. That is Arsenal versus Manchester City. That's from the Emirates. So that'll be next week, Wednesday, I believe. So I believe that will probably be a Manchester City win. Again, of course, depending on what's going on with surrounding them at the moment. Arsenal obviously are very good at home, undefeated, of course, at home. But there is one team that can actually obviously topple them. It will probably be Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. So that's that. That's my roundup. Again, not telling you where I am at the moment. But I am in a very, very nice place at the moment. Sat outside the stadium in the Segunda League at the minute. I won't tell you which. Maybe a bit of a quiz question, try and guess where I'm at. But until then, I will speak to you in the next week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.